In this episode, I want us to set up my SQL database together with Prisma schemas. I know I had said that we would first create the add hotel form, but I figured that we will be needing the types from Prisma for us to work with the form. Now, in this particular course, I'll be using planetscale for my SQL database. It offers one free MySQL database forever, and we only have one issue with planetscale because it requires you to have a credit card for you to actually work with my SQL database. You'll not be charged anything, but some of you might not have a credit card, so that might be an issue. One thing is that you can either borrow a friend their credit card, they'll not be charged anything, or you can easily register one from your bank of choice, and then you can use it on planetscale. Either way, if you don't have a credit card, the other option that you can have is setting up my SQL database locally on your machine. So you can just perform a simple Google search setting up my SQL database locally, and you can see right here Prisma actually have a guide on how you can set up an SQL database locally on Windows, Mac OS, or Linux. So I'll not be doing all this because all of you might be using different machines. Okay, so this is the guide for setting up MySQL database on Windows. Then when you scroll at the bottom, you'll also get that for Mac OS and that for Linux. This for Mac OS and so on. So all we will be needing is a link to the database for us to set up Prisma, and the schemas will be the same as long as your database is a MySQL database or an SQL based database. And also you can search right here Prisma and local MySQL, and you'll get a guide on how to connect to your local DB. So this is the guide, and as you can see, all we need is the connection URL from that local MySQL database. Okay, also you might go with Postgres, and right here I have a search for Prisma and Postgres, and all you need to do is to follow the guide right here to connect to a Postgres database, Postgres SQL. Some of you might want to also use MongoDB, and all you need to do again is to perform a search on how to set up MongoDB database with Prisma. Now for MongoDB, since it is a NoSQL database, the schemas might be a bit different, but not so much difference. So if you face issues when using MongoDB, you can just ask maybe ChatGPT on how to resolve the schema, or you can also Google on how to properly set up the MongoDB schema. But most of the stuff will actually be the same, only a few differences. For example, in MongoDB for ID, we actually need to map _ID because MongoDB uses an _ID. So anyways, all in all, Prisma makes it very easy for us to switch between the different databases, and you can choose your database of choice. Otherwise, if you have a credit card and you are willing to use it on planetscale, then you can follow exactly what I'll be doing in this particular course, but you have all those other choices in case you don't want to use your credit card on planetscale. Okay, so right here I am at planetscale.com. All you need to do is to create an account. So at planetscale, I'll just create a new database right here. So here I'll give the database a name, and I'll say stay-survey, and then a plan type. You'll see here we have this hobby, which is free forever. Okay, now I have already connected my credit card, so if it's the first time, you might be asked to connect one. And again, if you don't have a credit card, you can set up my SQL database locally. You can use Postgres SQL. You can use any other SQL based database, and also you can also use MongoDB. Only that for MongoDB, the schema might have some variations because this is my SQL database and MongoDB is a NoSQL database. You might need to search for errors on Google, or just ask ChatGPT on how to resolve those issues. Okay, so I'll select the hobby one here, and I'll come down here and I'll just create the database. Now right here we'll have the different frameworks that you can select from, and I'll go with Prisma right here. So I'll select Prisma. Then right here we will create a password. So I'll just let this be the password and I'll create it. Then right here we will configure Prisma in our application. So the first step is to install Prisma, then we will have npx Prisma init and so on, and then we will have this database URL which we will add at our .env file, and this is all we will need to connect to our SQL database. So if you set up my SQL database locally, you'll need to have a database URL like this one. And if you use MongoDB, you'll also need to have a database URL. Okay, that is the most important thing to create the connection between Prisma and our database. So the first thing that we will do is to install Prisma. I'll open the terminal here and we will install Prisma npm I Prisma. So I'll add it as a dev dependency. So to do that, say -d and then Prisma. Hit enter. So once Prisma installs, I'll also install Prisma client by saying npm I at Prisma stroke client. Hit enter. Next is to learn npx Prisma init. So npx Prisma init. So that will generate a Prisma folder right here. And as you can see, we have now this Prisma folder and we have schema.prisma, and you can see already it's connecting to a Postgres SQL DB. And then at .env, it has generated these particular instructions. And you can see here Prisma support the native connection string format for Postgres SQL, MySQL, SQLite, SQL Server, MongoDB, CockroachDB. So you can try any of these options. In this case, we are using MySQL. So you can also use Postgres SQL, which is a relational DB, as MySQL. You can try these others. MongoDB is a NoSQL database, so the schema again might be a bit different, not so much different, a bit different. And also we have this CockroachDB, which you can actually try as well. So there are many options in which you can try, and Prisma makes it very easy for us to work with all these databases. So for this case, I'll just remove this comment, but you can visit these various links to learn more about Prisma. Then we will be needing this particular database URL, and as you can see down here, if I scroll down here, we actually have it right here. So we can just copy this string, then we will come right here and we will replace this one with whatever we copied, and this will create a connection now between Prisma and our MySQL database. Another thing is that we need to configure the schema like this. Remember, provider is MySQL here. So I'll copy this and we can come back. We go to schema.prisma and let me paste it at the bottom here, and you'll see the differences. So this is trying to connect to Postgres, but here we will connect to MySQL. This will be the same, and this we have set relation mode to be Prisma, and then provider here Prisma client JS. So the only thing that was added is this, and we changed this. So let's go ahead and remove the rest of the template that was auto-generated, and we will remain with just this. So I'll go ahead and save that file. At the libs right here, we can add a new file, and we'll say prisma.db.ts, and then right here we will set up our Prisma client so that we don't have issues when working in development mode. Okay, so here we will bring in a Prisma client from at Prisma client, just like that, and then right here we will say const Prisma db will be equal to right here we can add a type. Actually, we can add the Prisma type to be global, available globally. So we will declare global, then right here we'll say var Prisma full colon, we'll set this to be Prisma client all undefined, just like that. I can say global this, like that, dot Prisma, then we'll say all new Prisma client. So if this is undefined, global this dot Prisma is undefined, we will initialize a new Prisma client like this. So we invoke that, and down here we'll say if we check if we are in production mode or if we are in development mode. So if process .env .node environment is not equal to production, then that means that we are in development. We'll set global this, then .prisma to be equal to Prisma db. So what we have actually done is to give this global this.prisma a value. Okay, so we give it a value of Prisma db, which initially will be this one, and then now that will be available globally. Even when hot reloading, it will be available, which is good for our development experience. So right here I'll go ahead and we export default, and we'll say Prisma db, just like that. So this was accidentally imported. I'll go ahead and save that file. Now all we need to do is to go to schema.prisma and we will set up our schemas. So I'll create the schemas for everything. That includes the hotel, the rooms, and also the booking, and we'll be done with the schemas all together. Now as you can see right here, we have nice highlights like this, but for you they might all be white or something like that. And if you are using VS Code as me, you can just go to extensions. I know your tab is just on the side here, so just go to extensions. The icon look like this, and you will search for Prisma. So you need to install this Prisma and you enable it, and that will give you a nice syntax highlighting. So right now let's just go ahead and create our Prisma schema. We'll start by creating the hotel. So right here I'll say model hotel. Right here we'll give it an ID. The ID will be a string, and we'll say at ID, and we'll say at default will be UUID, just like that. Then we come right here, we'll add a user ID. So each hotel must have a user ID, which will be string. We'll have a title, which will be string, and then at the end here we'll say at db.text, just like that. Then right here we'll add a description, and right here we'll say this is a string, and again at db.longText. Then we'll have an image. So for the image, we'll just be storing a string from upload thing. We'll have country, which will be a string. So here we'll be storing the country code. We'll be having the state, which will be a string. Again, we'll be storing the state code. Then city, which will be a string. Here we'll be storing the name of the city. We'll also have location, description, which will be a string, and we'll again say here at db.longText, like that. So location, description, I'm just confirming the spelling there. Then here I'll add the different amenities. Okay, so we'll start with gym, like that. This will be a boolean, and we'll set at default to be false. So at default will be false. And if I save mine's format nicely like this, I think it's because of that extension that we added, or it might be prettier, I'm actually not sure. So for this, I'll just duplicate it, and we will just change from gym to spa. Then I'll also duplicate it. We can do it multiple times because we'll be having several of them. So I'll change this from spa to bar. We'll be having laundry. We'll also be having restaurant. Right here we'll be having shopping, free parking. You can add as many as you want. Then we'll be having a bike rental. Right here we'll be having free Wi-Fi. Right here we'll be having movie nights. So movie nights. Again, let's continue duplicating these. I will be having one for swimming pool, coffee shop. Yeah, swimming pool. We'll add coffee shop. I remove the last one here. I'll save, and we get that nice formatting there. Now right here, I'll add added art, or you can use created art. So this is the time that a hotel was created. We'll say it's date time, and at default will be now. Okay, then right here we can also have updated art. This will be date time, at default will be now as well. Then right here there will be a relationship between our hotel and also rooms and booking. So right here I'll say rooms. We'll add an array. So the thing is, when fetching a hotel, we can also be able to fetch it together with its rooms that are available, and also we can be able to fetch it together with bookings, okay, that are booked for this particular hotel. So booking will be an array. Then at the bottom here we'll say at full text, and we'll add a title here. So you can see rooms and booking is screaming, so we need to create those types, those models. Okay, so just to get rid of the error, you can have a model that says room, and you do that. Then we can have like a title for the room, which will be a string. Then right here let's create a model booking. For booking, I think we can add an ID for the booking, which will be a string, and at ID will be at default UUID. We'll be having a similar thing right here for the room, just like that. So both of these are screaming because we need alternative relations at our room and at booking. So let's first complete the room here, all the types that we need. So we'll have ID, we'll have title, then we will have a description, and right here we'll say string, and we'll say at db dot long text, just like that. So as you can see right here at the title, we said db text, and we added something right here about the title. So that will generally help when searching for a hotel, when we implement the search functionality. Okay, we'll have bed count. Now this will be an integer, and we can have a default of 0. So at default will be 0. We will have also guest count, and we'll be having bathroom count, king bed, queen bed. So let's add all of them right here. King size bed, so king bed, and the number of queen size bed, so queen bed. Okay, so let's go ahead here. We will be having an image for a room, which will be a string. Then we will be having the breakfast price, which will be an integer. We will not be having a default for that. Room price, which will be an integer, and then we'll be having the different amenities. Okay, so we can copy one of the amenity right here, then I'll come right here. So a room has its own amenities like balcony, TV, free Wi-Fi, the views, and so on. So right here I'll just paste this, and then I can duplicate it several times. I don't know how many times. We will just figure it out as we go. So we'll say room service. Do we have like 24 hours room service in this particular room? TV, do we have a TV in this room? So you can have different views right here. And is it soundproofed? I can save. So once I save, you'll see that these relationships are actually automatically created, and these errors actually disappeared. So if yours did not generate these, you can actually add it. Okay, so right here it added a relationship to our hotel schema right here. Now one thing that I will add in this is that whenever we delete a hotel, we will also want to delete the rooms. Okay, so right here I'll say on delete and you can say cascade, and you can see it's still complaining. So we added a relationship mode, so we need to add the index. So right here we will say at index will be our hotel ID. So hotel ID, and for the room we'll also be adding a relationship between the room and the booking, because for a room we will want to see those who have booked this particular room. So here we'll say booking, and we'll say booking. Okay, booking will be an array just like that, and again it complains because we don't have the mode here. So if I actually save, you'll see the room was added right here at our booking. So it also complains about the indexing, so we can add those at the very bottom, both for the hotel and for the room. So right here I'll say hotel ID and also room ID, just like that, and the errors are actually gone. We still have this error right here. We'll come back to that. Let's complete booking right here. So I'll say username. So this is the username for the person who have booked this particular booking. We'll have a user ID, so the ID of the user who booked. Then we'll have a hotel ID, which is actually added right here, and it's added as an optional ID, but I don't want it to be optional, I want it to be mandatory. And also room ID is added as optional, I don't want that to be optional. So let me bring the IDs at the top here. Another thing, we had hotel ID here, which was added as optional. Actually we'll make it to be a must. So let's come back right here. So we have hotel ID, we have room ID. We also need to know the person who posted the hotel, or the owner of the property. So we will name the ID of that person as hotel owner ID. So this is the person who owns the rooms and the hotel. Okay, we'll have a start date, so this is like a check-in date. This will be date time. We will have an end date, the end of the booking. This will be date time as well. We'll also be asking breakfast included. So whenever you book, do you want to be served breakfast or not? So we'll say that is a boolean. Then right here we'll have currency, which will be a string, is the currency USD or so on. So here I'll also add a total price to be int. Then have a payment status. Remember, this booking is also like an order, so we'll need to know if this is paid. If it's paid, we will be reserving the room for the booked dates. So right here we'll also be having a payment intent from Stripe, so that we can actually retrieve this booking and perform a payment on it if we did not like pay for the very first time. So we'll set this to be unique. Then we'll say booked at, and we'll say date time, and right here I'll say at default, and we'll say now. I save and it auto formats. So we'll have all these: ID, username, user ID, room ID, hotel owner ID, start date, end date, breakfast included, currency, total price, payment status, payment intent ID, booked at. So these are the relationships. So right here you see error passing attribute at full text. You must enable full text index preview feature to be able to define this one. So actually it's not mandatory, it just helps with the search. Then for us to add that feature, we need to come right here and we will say preview features, and we will add a full text search. Okay, and we'll also need to add full text index. And once we do that, you'll notice that our error has gone. So if you are using MongoDB, some things might be different, like this index. I don't think we do indexing in MongoDB because it is non-relational database. The ID here might be different, but most of the rest of the stuff will be the same. So I'll see you on the next one.